So, this happened back in the summer of 2017 in Port Orchard, Washington. I was just chilling with my friends at the local park in our city. Now, this park was pretty popular and lots of people go there, but since this was Washington and it was raining with a huge storm, nobody was there except for my friends. It was getting pretty late and we decided to go to my house. When we got there, nobody was home and it was really quiet. I didn't really take note of how quiet it was because when we went inside, we were being really loud, but usually the house is never that quiet. Anyways, me and my friend sat on the couch and started playing Xbox. We played for about 4 hours, and in that time, the storm had gotten progressively worse. But we didn't think much of it. As I said before, this was Washington. However, we were about to play a different game when I heard a noise come from somewhere around the house. I didn't think much of it, but then I heard it again, only this time much more distinct. It sounded like a metal chair dragging on a floor, but it came from the basement. That's when I asked my friends if they heard it, and they said no. So, I put it off as me imagining things because I was tired. That's when I heard it again, but this time my friends heard it too, and we all paused and waited for it to happen again. When it did, though, it was way louder and way more fierce. As it happened, the power went out, and we started to flip out. We were about to pull out our phones, but we couldn't see because it was pitch black. Then I remembered that I had a flashlight hiding under my living room table. So, I felt my way back to it, grabbed the flashlight, and shined it around. I realized that one of my friends was gone, and I asked the others if they'd seen him, and they said no. So, after a couple of minutes of searching for him, we heard him say, "Guys, this isn't funny," but it was very faint. We were upstairs at this time, so we went downstairs and yelled for him. He responded from the basement. That's when we all looked at each other and realized one of us had to go down there and find him. After minutes of arguing, we all decided we would go down there together. When we got to the top of the basement, we felt the freezing cold breeze, which sent shivers down all our spines. But we sucked it up and started our descent into the basement. We yelled for our missing friend, and he said yes. Now, before we go any further, my basement was huge and divided into 3 different sections. The one that leads to the stairs was big and shaped like a square, and the second one is this really small but long hallway to the next part, which is similar to the first section. Once we got to the bottom of the stairs, it was below freezing, but we kept moving. We searched the whole first section. He didn't turn up, so we looked down the hallway, called for him, and he said he's in here. We walked slowly through the hallway, and what felt like hours of walking down this hallway slowly, we made it to the final part of the basement, which was the longest and the creepiest. But it was so long that when we shined the flashlight into it, it didn't hit a wall. Anyways, we yelled for our friend again, and he answered, but it sounded deeper than his voice actually sounded. But we brushed it off and started going into the last section. We all got out of the hallway and started searching. We got to the end of the last section, where there was a ton of boxes. We shined the light on the boxes and started going towards them. That's when I heard our friend, or at least what we thought was our friend, say in only what I can describe as a demonic, pure evil, and more than scary shriek. I heard one of my friends run away back up the stairs, and me and the last friend that was with me looked and got closer to the boxes. That's when I saw horns, and I stopped, but they raised up more and more till I saw the whole body crouching so it didn't hit the roof of my basement. It was easily taller than the basement roof. That's when my other friend ran. I wanted to but felt stuck. It locked eyes with me, and I felt like it was staring me down and taking my soul. Then, as my friend came back and grabbed me, the thing shrieked, and it was hella loud. If it went any higher, it could have broken windows. As we were running back up the stairs, we heard stomping, huge steps. We got to the top of the stairs, and it went quiet. My other friends were getting their stuff packed up to leave. I asked if I could stay with them, and they said sure. So, I went into my room to grab my stuff, and I went into the living room. By that point, my other friends were in their car waiting, and I heard from the basement in a deep demonic voice, "See you next time." Then I grabbed my charger from the wall and left. I didn't even lock the door. When I woke up in the morning, I called my friend that we all went looking for, and he said that he went home shortly after the power went out, and we all flipped out. Let's just say we never went into that basement again, and I moved shortly after to an apartment, hoping I don't ever see that thing, whatever it was, ever again. I was 22 years old, a female, and a senior in college. During my senior year in college, I was following a particular politician and attending rallies and other events in my spare time. My friends and I were having a ball and loved being involved. One particular rally I went to was in the city. My friends and I took a train in and enjoyed ourselves. On the way home back to our university, I noticed a guy sitting across from us that I had recognized from campus. He was pretty cute, and I remember seeing him around as we must have had some mutual friends. I said hi to him, and to my delight, he also recognized me. We spoke for a few minutes and discovered we were both at the same rally. By the end of the train ride, he asked me for my phone number. I remember thinking, wow, a cute guy and we have some things in common. I gave him my number but didn't think much past that. About a week later, I received a text from him. He asked me if I was free this weekend and if I would be interested in meeting up and having a drink. This particular time was during a break from school, so not many people were around. For whatever reason, I had chosen not to go home. In my naive mind at the time, I thought, great, I have my place all to myself. I met him at our local bar, and we had a few drinks. It was pretty quiet for a Friday, as it was break time, and after an hour or two, we decided to leave. I invited him back to my place for a bottle of wine and to hang out some more. He wound up staying the night and leaving in the morning. But when I woke up, for whatever reason, I had an uneasy feeling. Nothing bad had happened per se, I just didn't like how things had gone. I felt like he was so serious, not laughing or smiling the entire evening. Although he always had a drink in his hand, I realized he wasn't really drinking them. The entire evening he was kind of shifty and nervous. The only way I can describe it is like he was on a mission and waiting for something. These were all red flags to me. I felt bad, but I just was not interested in this guy. To my relief, he didn't text me for a while after that, and I assumed he came to the same realization that it just wasn't a good match. That is until about 2 to 3 weeks later. He wrote me a message telling me that he's been busy but really wants to meet this weekend and catch up. This particular weekend, my older sister was having a large party for her husband's birthday at their house a few towns away. A few of my friends and I were going, and there was always a very large group of people at their parties, about 50 to 60. Now let me be clear, these parties were not your typical get wasted and stay up till the cops get called type college parties. They were more of an adult type party, given my sister's husband is fairly older than us. Don't get me wrong, there was plenty of drinking going on, and they were very fun, just more of an adult type barbecue with day drinking. Me and my 2 girlfriends were going to spend the night as I was going to drive there, but obviously, we would be drinking. The party started early at 12 p.m. Against my better judgment, I invited him to the party thinking it couldn't hurt. I gave him the address and time. He seemed very interested and agreed to come. The day of the party was so fun, and my friends and I were having a blast. I must admit I did have a sinking feeling and was not looking forward to seeing the guy. Then to my absolute and utter relief, I get a text from him saying he will be unable to make it. I finally could relax and enjoy the party. By about 12 a.m., everyone is exhausted from a day of full-on drinking, and the party is winding down. Most of all the guests have gone home except my friends and I and a few other guys, friends of my sister's husband who were also sleeping there, and of course, my sister and her husband. My sister has one guest room which was taken, and a fully carpeted and finished basement. We had various blankets and pillows and were all going to sleep down there on the couches or pretty much anywhere you could lay. As I'm about to go down to the basement and get ready for sleep, the man walks through the front door. No knocking, no text, no anything. Just confidently walks straight into the house. I don't know why, but my initial reaction was fear. I pretended to be happy to see him and gave him a small hug. I asked him why he was there, to which he never gave a real response. All of the lights were out, and everyone was gone. I was gesturing around and hinting at him that the party was over and that he had missed it. I felt bad that he made the effort and decided to speak with him for a few minutes before I went to bed. We talked. I told him I was going to get ready for bed and that I'm sorry he missed the party. He says, "Yeah, that's fine. This dude is just not getting the hint to leave." I leave the room and go to change my clothes and set myself up a bed, brush my teeth, etc. I'm just hoping that he will leave, but I don't hear any movement from the other room. When I come back to the living room to check and see if he's actually still there, he is. And he is asleep on the couch. I obviously found this strange, but just assumed it was late and that he must have been really tired. He didn't seem out of place as there were various other people sleeping at the house as well. I went to the basement and found myself a place to sleep on the floor. About 30 minutes to an hour later, I'm lying on the floor still awake thinking about how weird it is that he showed up. It's pitch black, and there are a few other people sleeping there, including my friends. I hear someone in the dark slowly coming down the stairs. I see they are holding a cell phone light to guide them. As the figure reached the bottom of the steps, I see that it's him. Now, he has never been to this house that is in a nice suburban area, not a frat house, and I did immediately think it's weird that he would randomly be walking through a house of a person he doesn't know. I pretended to be asleep. As I lay there frozen, I suddenly feel a tap on my shoulder. He doesn't say a word. He is over me and trying to wake me up. I don't move and pretend to be asleep. I lay there in the dark silence and am listening for his footsteps to walk away. I can tell he is holding a light over me. Then, with no warning, this man takes a step back and with his boot on, kicks me full force in the face. I'm not talking about a little tap with his foot to wake me. No. Full force boot kicks me directly in my face. My face goes numb. I don't know what just happened. I can feel blood running down my nose. I open my eyes and look at him, and all I can remember saying is something like, "Why did you do that?" He just stared at me blankly and said nothing. Turned around and walked back up the steps. I lay there paralyzed in fear. My heart is beating a million times a minute. I don't know how long it was until I garnered the courage to get up, but eventually, I army crawled in the dark over to my friend. Another man near her wakes up as well, and I explained what happened. We are all half drunk, dazed, and confused to say the least. I can't stay in this basement. I know he left, but I was so scared. My friend and the other guy offered to take me upstairs so I can sleep in my sister's room. I go into my sister's room and lay next to her bed on the floor. I shut the door behind me, but unfortunately, there was no lock. I don't know how, but eventually, I fall asleep. At some point, it's now morning, I wake up to my sister leaning over me. She asks, "What happened to your face and why are you in my room?" Right as I'm about to answer her, my friend who had helped me the night before comes flying into the room. She tells us that the guy is still there and asleep on the couch. She runs out, and I can hear her screaming at him to get up and get out. I hear him arguing back and asking where I am. My friend tells him I've left, and he begins arguing that he knows my car is still there and that I hadn't taken my purse. Eventually, he leaves. After that night, he wrote me a message a few days later as if nothing had happened, asking me to hang out again. I blocked him and have never heard from him again after that. I graduated only 2 months later and thankfully never even saw him on campus again. To this day, I have no idea why he kicked me in the face and how he had the balls to stay after that. I have learned my lesson about giving out my phone number. My dad used to work as a supervising janitor for over 10 years. Almost 99% of the places he cleaned were very run-of-the-mill places. Office buildings, small workshops, factory lobbies, etc. After about 5 years, he worked his way up to being a supervisor of a specific team that cleaned a building that manufactured things for the government. One day I asked him on a whim if he had ever cleaned any places that were haunted, as every place he cleaned before being a supervisor was at night, and he was almost always the only one there. I was surprised by his response as he tells me that out of all the places, there was one he knew was haunted. This is what was known as the Easter Seals building in my family. The Easter Seals are a volunteer group who help children and people with autism function in the world. I have Asperger's and as a child was a part of this program and knew the building well. My dad told me that on the main floors when he was there, he would hear children running around and laughing on the upper floors and sometimes on the same floor he was on in the other rooms. He always was adamant the children meant no harm and said that when he would hear them, he would say out loud to them, "Don't worry, I'm just here to clean. Don't mind me, kiddos." He said that they would try to play with him and kick balls around corners and misplace his cleaning stuff, which to him made him feel more at ease as they were just trying to get attention. My father believes if a ghost is trying to interact with you in a playful way, you should interact with them at least in voice to show you mean no harm and they will not take you as a threat. The next thing he told me was the part one could tell scared him, which was very strange. My dad grew up getting into fights and getting beat at home if he didn't win those fights, so seeing him show fear wasn't something I was not used to. He said that cleaning the basement of the place was the worst part of that job. He said that when he was upstairs hearing the children, the energy in the place was normal. He said it was just as if there were real kids there and that it wasn't cold or smelled of something rotten or anything. But that the second he would enter the basement, it would almost petrify him. He said that it was probably 20 degrees down there no matter what, even if it was over 90 in the rest of the building. He said that it was quiet, but too quiet, like the white noise our ears hear was even sapped from the area. He said that there was a hallway leading into the maintenance area of the building and that when he turned the lights on, the lights in the hallway wouldn't ever be on even if they had just been changed and that the darkness in the hallway was unnatural. Like, quote, something took the light. His first couple of times there, he tried to talk to it like the children, thinking they were down there too, but that when he did, he felt like something was about to attack him from the darkness. He said he never went down that hallway to clean it. My father is also the type of man that puts at least 120% into anything he does, and anyone who doesn't just isn't a good worker. So for him to not clean a good portion of a building for at least 2 years, I could tell this was something that he was not joking about. In conclusion, I will always believe my dad, especially with this story. He talks about ghosts in a very matter-of-fact way. But out of the things he told me, I will always remember this, and there is something evil in that basement.